Welcome to another walkthrough for Django for everybody. In this particular walkthrough, we are going to walk through the JSON sample code. It's an application of fetch and AJAX and setTimeout, and it brings a lot of these JavaScript in the browser ideas all together in one simple example. So the idea is we are doing something that's asynchronous. We're simulating two people logged into the same system and wanting to see the messages from one screen to another. So let's second message. So this is one user. So the whole page redisplays, and we saw the spinner come up there. And so if we come back and we just go over to this other screen, second message shows up. And so we didn't do anything on the other screen. We didn't refresh the screen. And so some asynchronous thing is happening. And so let's just take a look at the web developer tools. Let's take a look at the network. And so what's happening is there's a timer, and it's requesting this chat. And in this chat, there is some JSON. If we take a look at the response, we get an array of these messages, right? Arrays are not really good style of JSON, so I apologize for that. So there's a timer that's running. And so this is just getting it looks like about every 5 seconds. And so if I go on, I'll just say third message over here. So what happens here is I'm doing a full post redirect. You know, I'm posting, and it's going to do a post redirect and then a redisplay, and it takes 2 seconds. We'll see that in a second. But then we have the third message. But over here, third message merely appears. And so it's doing it about every 5 seconds, which this is a polling pattern, which is a really bad use of network resources, a really bad use of server resources. So don't use the polling pattern, but it's the way I can show you this the simplest. Okay? And so let's take a look at how this is working. So let's start with urls.py. I've got the talk page, which is this main page, and then I've got a JSON page, a JSON endpoint called messages, and then I've got a little thing so that the spinner shows up. That's nothing fancy. So the main, we've got a GET request, which simply renders this page. And let's take a look at talk.html. So we've got, a form for the chat. We got a CSRF token, and we got this div that starts with the spinner. And so if I come here and I just hit refresh, you will see for a moment that the spinner shows up. So this is the code that came from the server, is this spinner. And then what we're going to do is we're going to update this, right? And then replace this text. And that's what we're going to do, is replace it by the JSON. And then over and over and over, we're going to delete this. You're not even seeing it because it deletes this whole thing, and then it responds to it. And then what we also have is, let's take a look at the chat messages. And so let's look at the raw data. And this is an array of message and time. And so it's using this thing called, let's take a look here. It's using this thing called, where is it? Natural time. Right, using natural time to make this 1 minute ago. And so if we take a look at this messages, we can let's take a look at the browser tools, web developer tools, network tab. Let me hit refresh here. So we can see that this is got it's JSON, 125 characters. The response is JSON. We can see the raw version of it. So that's just us hitting the JSON endpoint by hand. So if we look at what goes on in the JSON endpoint, we are going to, this is just a cleanup message, so you can kind of ignore this. I'm going to get the most 10 recent messages ordered by the created at time. And then I'm going to loop through those messages that I got from the data model. I guess I could take a look at the model. I got a simple data model here. I got the owner, user key, created at, updated at, and text. So not much to it. But I'm going to create these results, and I want to escape the text in the back end. Remember to do HTML entities, because I don't want to do it in the front end, because that will make my front end code a little too complex. So I'm just going to escape it in the back end. I would not say that that's a good idea. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to escape the message text, and then I'm going to make a natural time of the created app. And then I'm going to append it, and I'm going to return JSON response safe equals false. And that has to do with like letting certain things go through. But this is taking an array. Now it is not best practice. It's actually bad practice to return an array, but we're going to keep this as simple as possible. And we're just going to the model and getting the most 10 recent messages, and then sort of creating an array of the kind of stuff we want to hand back. And so this message is, JSON is not just give me the data in the model. It's often give me the data, take the data from the model, do some augmentation to it, make it pretty, make it ready for display, and then hand that back as the JSON response. And so that's the JSON response. And then if we take a look, how does that JSON response turn into this text? Well, if we take a look here, we are fetching that message's URL, and we're using the promises, not async await. We're pulling the response back, and then we are taking the JSON post parsing of the JSON, and we console log that. Let's look at the browser tools here, web developer tools. Let's look at the console, and you see that it says I'm requesting the JSON, and then once the first and second promise resolves, I have this thing I call rows, and then I console log it, and it's really just an array. It is an array with all of these messages in it. And by this point in time, by this point in my code, that is a JavaScript array, not a string. Right, it's the thing that causes it to go from a string to a JavaScript array is response JSON. It says parse the response as JSON and give me back the object that results from that. Okay, and so this, at this point, we've seen this kind of pattern before, and we get the JSON data. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to now do document object modification, DOM modification. So the first thing we're going to do is wipe out. See this chat content dot div? We're going to set its inner HTML to nothing, which actually deletes that spinner. So that's where the spinner is there, and then the spinner vanishes and is replaced by that text. Okay, so the thing that came from the server, as a matter of fact, if I do a view source here, this is a good example of where the source and the document object model are not the same thing. The source that came from the server includes this spinner. But if I come back and I do an inspect element here, you see that chat content doesn't have a spinner. Now this is because the document object model is being changed by the JavaScript, and the first thing it does is throws away the spinner. And again, JavaScript owns the document object model. So it can delete stuff, it can change stuff. And so you sort of saw that highlight happen where this stuff comes and goes every 5 seconds. It wipes it all out and then it builds it again. But it happens so quickly we don't notice it as long as it's not changing. And again, I'm not telling you this, like polling every 5 seconds is a great way to do it. It's the quickest way to do it, but it is not a great way to do it. Okay? There are many other things, and you can take an advanced JavaScript class to learn that. So we're starting here, we wipe out the content, and then we just loop through rows, which is an array. It's got a length, we loop through it, and we're going to take get element by ID chat content, inner HTML, and we're going to append this string. We're going to append a p tag, we're going to append the message, we're going to append a BR, 2 non-blank spaces, and then the time, and then a /p. And strangely enough, if you take a look at this in inspect element, okay, it keeps vanishing. But here you go. You inspect. This is coming from my JavaScript. I'm building all that stuff, right? And it wipes out every 5 seconds because that's just how it works. Okay, so you see that it's going to wipe out and then regenerate it, but if you look above, it doesn't even flash, right? Okay, so then all we've got to do And we can put a little catch in here. Hey, let's make a mistake and see what happens here. Let's see if I can put something in this views. Let's mess this up and watch it blow up. So you see it blew up. So that was when this catch just blew up and alerted the error. Now, when you write code, please put this catch in, at least alert the error. And the key thing is what error did we do? We just like totally screwed up the view, right? And let me show you one more thing. I'll keep this broken for the moment. Let's just hit refresh, and let's go into network and hit refresh. And now it's going to hit it, and you're going to get a 500. If you've got this catch, it tells you something. But to figure out what's really wrong, like where's the bug in my code, you have to come in here and you have to look at it, and then you have to look at the response. And then you have to move this guy up, and you say, oh, at line 31 in get in views.py, XJSON, oh, look at that, it's line 31. I'm on line 31. So the point is if you don't put this alert in, you don't even know something went wrong, and that alert is sitting right here in the catch. So, and again, you don't have to make this super beautiful, right? Just this is a good enough alert because it's not supposed to happen. I mean, it only happens when I have a bug in my server code. So now I've taken the bug in my server code out, and I refresh it, and away it goes. So this catch here is cheap insurance that basically says it doesn't just silently fail, right? If I just made this a console, let's make this a console log, right? And you're just let's go to console, let's clear it, let's hit refresh. Oh wait, and I got to put the error back in, sorry. Okay, so it's working. Okay, it's blowing up. I got a console log, but the problem is that if you're not looking at the console log and you just have this bug in there and you say, happy days, or nothing works. And now all we see forever is the spinner because the AJAX request is not working. And if you have the cleverness to turn on web developer tools and see this and go like, oh, something's funky there, and then you go to network and well, we got to hit refresh because the JavaScript set timeout. We haven't talked about set timeout. We'll talk about that in a second. When this blows up, you see the 500, and then you have to have the presence of mind to go in here and look at the response and go like, oh, that's why the spinner is just sitting there and not working. Okay, so let me go ahead and fix this once and for all and talk about how the timeout works. So let's clear the badness. Let's hit refresh. Let's have it work. Come on. There you go. Let's go into the console. Now, there is one more thing that's going on here, and there is an event, right? A couple of events that are going on. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to get this function update message called. And so we do that. We define this function update message, right? And then while our DOM is being parsed coming from the server, we're going to add an event listener, DOM content loaded event listener, which basically waits until the whole page is finished. And we're going to call setTimeout. We're going to say, let's run the update message function. This is a string, so it's not calling the update message. It's in effect registering a string to be parsed and executed 2 seconds later. And the second parameter is 2 seconds later. So you'll see it waits 2 seconds. The spinner waits 2 seconds, and then it runs this function update message. Oop. So 1001, 1002, now it runs update message. We get the JSON. This code all runs. But then what happens is when it's successful, and that's when this second promise is properly fulfilled, then it calls update message again in, oop, don't do that. I don't know what just happened there. Undo. Oh, let's go back to the alert. Okay. So the second promise is resolved successfully, and it console logs it, and it updates the thing just like we all talked about. But the last thing it does is very important. It says, now run me again for 4,000. You'll note that I don't start the timer again if I blow up. Like, what's the point? And that's why if it blows up, it doesn't keep trying. I could literally put the set timeout down here, but I don't want to. I mean, at some point, this catch is exceedingly rare, right? It really means I messed up in the server. I messed up in the server. It's not like the world is broke. Now, if the person's network goes down, because the network could go down at this point, I could lose a connection to the server. An alert will tell me that, tell the user that, like, I cannot retrieve blah, 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 blah. Hopefully they get the sense that their network is bad. And so this is as simple as I can make it. Simple chat. Nothing's best practicing this. I'm using an array for my JSON. I am polling every 4 seconds. Don't do any of this. But it is a very simple, elegant, that brings together a number of these asynchronous ideas and the notion of timers and the notion of fetch and all those things. And so it's a good place to start.